All right, good afternoon. We'll go ahead and call to order the Subcommittee on Economic Development Appropriations Subcommittee to order. We are awaiting several other members coming from the caucus meetings, but we'll go ahead and get started. So we got a tight afternoon and a lot of meetings piling up this afternoon, but we're going to start with a word of prayer from Brother Mike Jackson.
Thank you, Chairman. Father, in the name of Jesus, as we come before you, we ask for your wisdom, your guidance, as we do the business of this great state of Georgia. We thank you for the privilege, Lord, of being here today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, sir. Amen. All right, we're going to start with Commissioner of Agriculture, Tyler Harper. If you'll come on, Commissioner.
I'm right here.
You already there?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
I'm ready to go. I know I don't have my stool, so you couldn't have saw me. I apologize. Again, it's still in the Senate.
You moved quick, Commissioner there. We'll turn it over to you, Commissioner. Thank you for being here today.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the members of the committee and appreciate our work together as we do the work of the people of our great state, especially when it comes to our state's #1 industry, which is agriculture, and the working with you to ensure that we have the resources to do the job that our team does every single day. So I'm just going to dive right on into this really quick and just go over a few things. As always, some of this we went over during the Joint Appropriations Committee meeting, but #1 industry, but a lot goes on with agriculture, and there's a lot of indirect industries that are tied to what we do every single day and what our agency does to ensure that that industry is successful. As I always say, if the agency that oversees the #1 industry doesn't have the resources to do the job it does, it's hard to ensure the #1 industry is successful every single day. So that's what our team works to do. And we do that with 22 different divisions, over 70 different licenses that we issue to 88,000 licensed entities throughout the state. We have about an 80-20 split on our funding, as y'all know, and there are a number of agencies and entities that are administratively attached to the department. As y'all know, that funding passes through us to those, and you'll hear from some of them later today. Y'all heard me talk about the Rural Center at the joint meeting, but everything is going well here. They are completely integrated under the Department of Agriculture now. They are utilizing facilities in our Tifton location. We also have the LJ office in North Georgia, and we are hitting the ground running with that and look forward to the work that we're going to be able to do through that. In relation to the block grant, honestly, unfortunately, there's really no update since we spoke last week. The only update I can really give you is everything is in USDA's hands. We're waiting on them. And matter of fact, the last 2 meetings we had scheduled with them were canceled by them. So we're still waiting on them to get back with us on finalizing our block grant so we can get those dollars out to our farm families. But on our side, when it comes to the Department of Agriculture, we're ready to go. We got the website up and running, farmrecovery.com. We have the applications ready to go live. We're just waiting on that final thumbs up and from USDA and ready to go to work to get that $531 million out the door. So we talked about the Farmland Conservation Fund the other day as well. We actually have a follow-up meeting on the application tomorrow afternoon to finalize that so we can get those applications out the door to start protecting farmland in our great state, and we look forward to doing that. As a follow-up to what we talked about the other day, as many of you know, we have a second confirmed case of high-path avian influenza since we met last in Walker County. Also, another broiler breeder operation, a broiler farm, and so that is the second confirmed case in our state in the last less than 2 weeks. Our team is currently deployed up there and have been since that first outbreak in Walker County and been working overtime to get that done. That said, the Winter Storm Firm obviously halted some of those operations. We pulled our team out for safety purposes, but they were redeployed early this morning to continue working on getting that addressed. We have it as As I said the other day, it's completely contained. We're just finalizing C&D on the site and hope to be wrapping that up very soon there in Walker County. In relation to the winter storm, really quick, I just want to say specifically that this storm was the first time where we had a multi-agency partnership. I want to publicly thank Director Johnny Sabo as well as Commissioner Walter Rabin. Our three agencies worked in conjunction with each other, had a multi-agency unified command based out of the Georgia Forestry Commission office in Macon during the entire winter storm event. And our three agencies partnered together to address the issues that Georgians were facing during the storm and helping ensure that that was taken care of. And I think this is a perfect example of how our entities work together to ensure that we're doing the job that Georgians ask us to do and protecting Georgians when they need it, especially in tough times like this. And so it was an awesome example of how our agencies work together under the unification of the State Operations Center and GEMA and the work that they do. And at the Department of Agriculture, we're proud to play a part in that as ESF 11 lead through the State Operations Center and our work that we do through emergency management. And part of the reason, as we've talked about, the focus we have had at the agency on focusing on our efforts to build out our emergency management capability to respond to those issues and events that affect our farm families and consumers of this state. High-path avian influenza being an example. The yellow-legged hornet being another example. The cotton jacid, the spotted lanternfly, a winter storm, a hurricane, a tornado. And so we continue to focus our efforts to ensure that we're addressing those issues. I meant to mention this the other day when we hit on the yellow-legged hornet really quick. Every one of those dots that you see on that screen, and there's a lot of them, are traps. Those are traps that we have deployed as an agency to ensure that we're monitoring where that hornet is and ensuring that we're catching it. As you can see, we have on the west side, there is a line of traps, and that basically is that border to ensure that nothing is moving out of that savanna region as we continue to work through that. Our hemp program, as I discussed the other day, we have, over the last year, we have really ramped up our efforts. You know, October 24 is when the law went into effect, and we have really been working to address this issue. We have done over 1,100 inspections, over 1,200 violations. The most significant violation that we find, as I mentioned the other day, is no COAs, but we also find issues related to warning labels and food and candy resemblance, among other things. Every one of those dots on the right side that you see, and if you zoomed in, there would be more dots that would populate, obviously, but that is a licensed entity through the Department of Agriculture to sell product in our state. And those are the entities that our inspectors are going in every day to address the issues related to this program. Obviously, thanks to your help, we've been able to get some of that funding. About a little over $1 million is what we get for our hemp program. This past year, it brought in a little over $2 million to the state. We get about half of that to run the program. We have 5 inspectors. Those 5 inspectors, civilian inspectors, are the ones that did the over 1,100 inspections. We have 2 license coordinators that work to address the licensing side to ensure that we're bringing in that money. And we have, as I mentioned the other day, we have, of the almost 1,200 inspections, 81 of those were transferred to law enforcement for criminal investigation. 27 of those 81 were related to issues related to under 21 sales. And in some of those cases, we have actually either executed search warrants or taken proper action and taking people to jail if they deserved it. So depending upon the outcome of that particular case. In relation to the farmers markets, you have or should have or will have, I know we offered copies of these, the Georgia Agricultural Trust Fund report. If you walk through that report, I'm not going to walk through it. I'm just going to talk about it real briefly and say this. That report will give you insight into what's going on in our farmers markets, the work that we're doing as an agency to invest in those, in addition to the funding that you allowed us to operate with, and thanks to the help of the governor the last couple of years to invest specifically in infrastructure here in Atlanta. Our team done a really good job of putting this report together, and I just encourage you to look through that report. It'll give you some insights specifically into our farmers markets and the work that we're doing there to ensure that we're maintaining them. But that said, obviously, with the funding that we get, including the funding that we get through the trust fund, it's not enough to keep up with the ongoing maintenance issues that we have at our farmers markets across the state. But the funding that you have given us, we have invested wisely and will continue to do that to ensure that those markets are accessible to our producers. Getting into the specific budget line items, in the governor's budget, and I appreciate the governor and their work with us and OPB and others and their staff, and obviously in the work that we've done with them in laying out the issues that we have as an agency and them funding those needs. They have included funding for new software for our food safety division. They've included a little over $1 million related to some funding issues that we have brought up to them related to obviously retention of the positions, but also to offset some of those costs that we have incurred. Realignment for COLAs that we have asked for to help address the issue where we were not made whole on those in prior years. And then the one-time salary supplement that the governor is funding for all agencies in that $2,000 fund. Additionally, in the administration budget, the governor included our ask for the $450,000 for laptop replacement agency-wide, as well as our cost of living adjustments, and then the $2,000 in additional funding. In relation to marketing and promotion, as y'all know, last year you included $200,000 for a Georgia Grown program for specifically to push and highlight Georgia Grown wood. This has been a remarkable partnership again between us and the Georgia Forestry Commission and Director Sabo and his team, as well as others that have collaborated together to promote Georgia Grown wood products. And the governor has increased this from 200 to 660. We're proud of that increase and think this is an awesome opportunity to highlight one of our proud commodities here in our state, which is our forestry industry. We're the #1 forestry state in the nation, and I think this is a perfect time for us to promote this specifically to help us bring in new businesses, a new opportunity for our forestry industry as the #1 forestry state in the nation. And so we appreciate that and support that add. Again, other adjustments for COLAs, the $2,000 increase, and then same thing for the Center for Rural Prosperity and Innovation, or the Rural Center, the $2,000 one-time add. That said, Mr. Chairman, in relation to what our asks are, we appreciate everything from the governor and their help with OPB, but this lays out our asks. Number 2 and 3 we'll talk about in FY27. That was the governor included some funding for both of those in FY27, so we'll forego discussing those, but obviously we'll have deeper conversation about that when we get to the big budget. But in relation to the little budget, we have some ongoing and one-time needs. Some of this was funded in the governor's budget, and we are significantly appreciative of it. But we wanted to bring forward the other one-time and continuing asks that we have because of reduction in funding that we have seen, as we discussed in the Joint Appropriations Committee meeting the other day, the shortfalls in the COLAs, and also our software needs that we have as an agency. Every so often we have to upgrade that software or we have to renew that software, and those things cost money to do so, and we don't have any ongoing funding to provide to do that with. And so our ask is to receive that funding for those particular programs, and those are laid out on that sheet that each of you should have, that one pager, as well as here on the slideshow, related to the different divisions that need that additional funding, and the reasons for the COLA and the deficit that we have seen in especially in our meat inspection program, but also in food safety and meat inspection as well, and the federal shortfall, as well as the federal cut that we received in those particular programs. In relation to our department, as I said earlier, we have over 88,000 licensed entities now. That is a 33% increase since I walked in the door. And we've only increased our employment by about 12% in that same time period. This is so if you doing the math, that's about a 15% increase in workload on our employees, agency-wide. This is just a snapshot. As I said, we have over 22 different divisions. When you add in our programs, it gets to over 50 different programs that we as an agency oversee. This is just a snapshot of 4 of those, and kind of the issues that we see there with vacancies and the federal cuts and other things that have impacted us as an agency, specifically in food safety and meat inspections. Those were actually cuts that were happening in the last year, the Biden administration, that hit us to the tune of almost $1 million. But when you look at that, our fuel team, 41 folks, it takes 41 folks to check about 117,000 pumps. We have almost 200,000 in the state, and they're adding new ones every day. Among other things. And as I mentioned the other day in our meat inspection program, due to lack of staffing, we've had to unfortunately decline the ability to open up new establishments in our state because of that. That said, Mr. Chairman, you asked specifically about turnover rate in our last meeting. And so as an agency, when you look at our Consumer Protection Division alone, it's about right after I walked in the door, really after the first 6 months, this is starting in FY24, our turnover rate in FY24 was 22% for our Consumer Protection Division, 21% as an agency. FY25, thanks to y'all's help and the work that we've done together in increasing salaries and that investment that y'all have made, we went from that to a 13% turnover rate. To FY26, we're now at a little over 11% turnover rate agency-wide, 12% in consumer protection. But even with that, Mr. Chairman, we still have issues because we're still having to decline licenses for entities. We still lose meat inspectors to federal agencies. It takes us 18 months to train a meat inspector. We lose food safety inspectors to other state agencies. So it is a continual battle that we have as an agency, but definitely something that we have, with your help, we have helped slow the bleed, so to speak, and we appreciate y'all's help in helping us do that, but our continued work together can help us ensure that we have the resources we need to do the job that we do every single day. And so that is the ask for the Department of Agriculture for amended fiscal year 26, Mr. Chairman. If there are I do have one thing to add, but from one of our attached agencies. I can pause on that or go right into that if you would like me to.
All right, go ahead and cover it if you will.
It is really quick. As you can imagine, with the ongoing HPAI outbreak, Dr. Zavala and our team at the Georgia Poultry Lab are working overtime. And due to the winter storm, they have been completely inundated with a lot of samples, and so she was not able to be here today and asked if I would mention their ask, which is the $293,000 for a lab information management system. That was I believe that was what was included. The range that was quoted for them was $300,000 to $500,000, and obviously if you have any other specific questions for that, I'm sure Dr. Zavala would be more than happy to answer those, but I told her that we would mention that since she was not able to be here to present that in person. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to answer any questions that y'all may have and discuss any issues, concerns, or anything related to our specific ask for AFY 26.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for the great work that the department does. We understand that obviously you cover the largest industry of the state of Georgia, very important, and a lot of work has to be done and more work is to be done. Two questions for you, somewhat similarly related. On the federal shortfall of 1.1 million, do we have any idea what USDA's anticipation is and actually reimbursing the state for that?
So I will say this, the Trump administration has been working to increase the reimbursement back to the states, or increase the funding to the states specifically for some of those programs like meat inspection. However, we haven't got any specifics on that as of yet, and we're waiting to get that information. But regardless, those those specific shortfalls have definitely been something that we as an agency that's been made it difficult for us to operate, and it cuts into our state funding and other areas that we would be able to utilize those funds to continue to bring on additional employees and things such as that. The other thing that I'll mention, Mr. Chairman, that we've talked about before as well is the last couple of years, we appreciate the pay raise, but as you know, the state, our meat inspectors are 50-50, our EPA funded employees are 75-25 or 80-20. Food safety is in that 75-25 or 80-20 range, depending upon the position. So we only get 50% of the funds put in our budget to fund those pay raises for those employees. Well, as you can imagine, as a state agency, I'm not going to give an employee that's standing side by side with another employee a different pay raise. We're going to treat them the same. And so that eats into our budget significantly. We continually ask the federal government for that increase in our reimbursement rate to ensure that we can cover that pay raise, but unfortunately, in my 3 years, we have yet to get that reimbursement. We ask every year, we constantly have that communication with USDA, but we've yet to get that funding, and so every year we're still shorted any of those dollars to cover those additional pay raises that we're currently covering or trying to cover within our own budget, which creates budgetary issues from us as an agency-wide in being strategic in how we address the issues that we face every single day, especially when it comes to hiring more staff and ensuring that we're able to meet the mission that we've been asked to do.
Thank you for that. Any questions from members of the committee? Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Commissioner, for the great work that you do for this great state of Georgia. You mentioned the Center for Rural Innovation and Prosperity being under Ag now, and Dean Green and I chaired the Rural Development Council, and we worked closely with Dr. Bridges and Scott Blunt. I didn't hear what was in the budget this year for the Rural Innovation Center.
So the budget for the Center for Rural Prosperity and Innovation was last year, the legislature included a little over $2 million in our budget. That is a continuation in our budget this year. It's a little over $2 million that's included for the Rural Center budget that the Rural Center will utilize to operate. And the new executive director is Charlie Fiveash. He's hit the ground running, and the remainder of the staff has stayed the same, but obviously to you, to y'all, to the co-chairman, anything that we as an agency can do or Director Fiveash can do, we want to be a resource, and please lean on him as you have the Rural Center in years past. But that the funding for the Rural Center is a continuation from last year, with the exception of the $2,000 supplement for the state employees.
Thank you.
Representative Gilliard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I didn't attend the Wild Hog Supper, but you've got a big plate of food here, Commissioner. Thank you for your service and your great leadership. When you were going over the repairs for the farmers market, it was near and dear to my heart as a freshman when we came up with the legislation for the Farmers Oversight Committee. The House and the Senate came back, and we had someone do a study about the farmers market. And your hands are full because you're trying to renovate outdated and antiquated, property. I just want to make a recommendation that moving forward in the future, we give you what you need, either to take those farmers markets to the next level or to do something different. If something is not working, then we've got to try something else. But to keep having you have to bandage those outdated, antiquated buildings, we've got to do something different. So I want to thank you for your leadership, and just hope that we can move forward this issue in that manner.
Thank you, Representative Gillard. I appreciate that, and I would agree with those comments.
Thank you, Representative Gilliard. Commissioner, we talked just briefly about it, and you mentioned in your comments the number of facilities that you have not been able to issue a license for because of the lack of an inspector to inspect. Can you talk a little bit more about that and where we need to go, likely in the 27 budget, to make sure that we are covering all areas of agriculture that need covering?
So I will speak to that kind of in two ways, Mr. Chairman. One, there are some entities and licensed entities that we as an agency are currently taking a real serious look at and seeing, is there a way that we can bring in and utilize technology to help us do the job that we're asked to do every single day, to be more efficient, more effective, and be able to still execute the mission that we've been asked to do. That said, there are certain jobs, though, that you cannot do that with. It requires a person, it requires an individual, and in most cases, it requires a person with a specific level of knowledge and understanding of that particular subject area to do that job. Obviously, meat inspection is a perfect example of that. That takes a physical individual. For us as an agency, you know, it gets into ensuring that we're able to work to recruit and hire the best when it comes to that, and even in some cases to retain. As we'll talk about in FY27, you know, every year we've talked about needing vehicles. Well, for my employees, that is their office. And whenever they have a vehicle that has 200,000 miles on it, among other things, and has other maintenance issues, that becomes a morale problem for staff. So it's I think in the long term, Mr. Chairman, it's ensuring that we have the funding and the resources to hire the right people when it comes to salaries, ensure that we have the resources to equip them appropriately every single day when they go out and do their job. And at the same time, when it comes to those stresses we have when it comes to federal funding, if we could have a serious conversation about, you know, look, at the end of the day, if we can get reimbursed from the feds, if we could be covered until we get that reimbursement back from the feds, that would help us have more flexibility as an agency to ensure that we're able to hire the best, retain the best, and at the same time equip the best to do the job that we ask them to do every single day.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I look forward to continuing that conversation as we get into the 27 budget. So thank you for the great work that you and your team do. Any other questions from members of the committee?
One last thing, Mr. Chairman, the third sheet you have is Hurricane Helene. I meant to mention this a second ago. It is a list, it is a map of the counties that are eligible to apply for that block grant. And as I said earlier, farmrecovery.com is where you can find out more information about what all is covered under the block grant. But thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate this committee and look forward to our continued work together.
And just on that note, Commissioner,
Yes,
that
sir.
map very much mirrors USDA's federal declaration map,
That
correct?
that is correct. Yes, sir. Those are the counties that were declared by the federal government as to be the counties that were under the disaster. Yes, sir. That is a reflection of the same maps that were used for other coverages for other disaster programs.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We're going to deviate from the agenda just for a moment. Georgia Humanities, Miss Mary, if you'll come on forward. I know you had a special guest with you that was here earlier, First Lady of this House, Miss Dale Burns, and she stepped out for a moment, but wanted to acknowledge that and turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Chairman Meeks and members of the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Economic Development. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Mary Wern, and I serve as president of Georgia Humanities, and I'm very grateful to OPB and Governor Brian Kemp for his budget recommendation supporting Georgia Humanities America 250 programming. Georgia Humanities is now in its 55th year of service to the people of Georgia. For more than half a century, our mission has been to bring history, culture, civic learning, and civil dialogue directly to communities and their citizens across the state. We have a statewide mission, and particularly those that do not always have access to large cultural institutions. Throughout that history, we have been careful stewards of public funds, consistently leveraging state investment through matching funds, partnerships, and private support to ensure every dollar goes as far as possible for Georgians. And in this past year, as we lost federal funding, we really stepped up our fundraising, and year over year, we brought in 10 times the funding through philanthropy. As our nation approaches America's 250th anniversary, Georgia Humanities is uniquely positioned to help ensure this moment is not only commemorated, but meaningfully experienced, especially in rural and small communities. We're agile, fiscally disciplined, and experienced in creatively deploying partnerships. We had over 200 partnerships and 300 volunteers in the last year, allowing us to move resources efficiently into communities so they can host their own America 250 celebrations, grounded in local history and local voices. So some of the things that the appropriations would fund, should we receive them, specifically for America 250. First, community-based America 250 grants. We are deeply grateful for the state's long-term investment in Georgia Humanities grant programs, which have proven to be one of the most effective ways to strengthen local capacity. Over time, every state dollar invested through our grants program has been matched 3 to 4 times, depending on the year, locally, multiplying the impact of public funds while empowering communities to take ownership of their own programming. Second, the Georgia Circuit, and I'm very excited that this is a legacy program for America 250. I remember 1976, and I was very excited to take part of that. And many of the tiny little historical societies that exist across Georgia and across the nation were founded in 1976, and Georgia Humanities wants a legacy program similar to that will go beyond America 250. So the Georgia Circuit is a new statewide America 250 program that brings Georgia-centric public programs on the American Revolution and on our state's history, culture, and civic spirit over the last 250 years directly into communities across Georgia, connecting residents with curated historians, storytellers, artists, and educators. And of course, the theme would change from year to year moving on. Third, our Museum on Main Street program, which brings professionally curated traveling museum exhibits to small and rural communities which might not otherwise have access to this level of cultural programming. Our upcoming exhibition, Voices and Votes, Democracy in America, offers a historical exploration of America's great experiment with democracy, beginning with the Revolutionary era and tracing how democratic ideas and institutions have developed and endured since 1776. While we're proud to bring high-quality, nationally developed exhibits to rural Georgia, we're even prouder of the capacity building that surrounds them. We support local scholars, encourage constructive civic dialogue, and help communities tell their own democratic stories so they are stronger long after the exhibit departs. This is not simply cultural programming, it is community development and civic infrastructure. We also integrate America 250 into our year-long educational work through National History Day Georgia, and we're a model across the country for this program that is across all of the states. It reaches in our state about 15,000 Georgia students annually and something like 1,000 to 1,500 teachers annually, so we teach the teachers. This year's theme, Revolution, Reaction, Reform, and History, invites students to engage America 250 not as a single moment, but as an ongoing civic experiment that continues to shape their lives today. So America 250 is a once-in-a-generation opportunity, and although we anticipate we are going to get our federal funding restored at some level, we don't know how much, and we're pretty sure it won't be on time to support these events. With the governor's recommended investment, Georgia can ensure a statewide, locally grounded, and fiscally responsible approach to commemoration, one that reaches every corner of Georgia and leaves a lasting legacy of civic learning and community engagement. Georgia Humanities stands ready to deliver this work with the same care, accountability, and statewide reach that has defined our service for more than 5 decades. Thank you so much for your time. I respectfully request your support of the governor's recommendation, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you, Mary, for being here today. And again, your guest that was with you, Ms. Dale Burns, was in attendance to support Ms. Mary and the comments that she was making. Any questions from members of the committee? Seeing none. Thank you very much for being here today. Appreciate it. Mr. Stephen Shemp, Georgia Ag Expo Authority. And ladies and gentlemen, if anyone of you staying on the back wall would like to come have a seat, please do so. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Mr.
Floor is
Chairman.
yours.
Members of the committee, we're happy to be here. I have with me Lori Dowd, our CFO. We'll go through a short presentation. If you have any questions afterwards, we'd love to hang around and answer them. Great to report you today. The Georgia National Fairgrounds and Agri Center is operating at full speed. We weren't affected by the storms, thank goodness, but we're at full throttle. Our calendar is very busy and booked, and I want to start off just sharing a little bit of the points of our mission, what we do. Basically, we were built to support agriculture, to get young people involved in agriculture, to boost the state's economy, and to host a state fair. And as we go through this presentation, I think we're checking all those marks. Good news, the Georgia National Fair the 36th was 612,000 visitors came to see us. Of most importance, 47,756 corn dogs were sold during the Georgia National Fair. We had a lot of people there. It was a great event. Inside the gates during the Georgia National Fair, $1.5 million in sales tax was generated. Again, that doesn't include fuel means to get there, any spending that went on outside of our gates. So very, very successful fair. Active projects that we currently have, our facility is 36 years old, so we've been heavily involved with lighting upgrades, entry doors, HVAC, anything that you can expect from a facility that's 36 years old and is heavily used. Several new projects coming on, and we're just about through with the GAE 21 MRR money. We've held on to that money for a long time. Trouble getting vendors and also price increases. So we've been dealing with that as we move forward. Sometimes putting some of our operations money into that to get those deals done, but our staff is doing a very good job in getting the whole facility upgraded. Brand new coming in February of 2027 will be the new small species barn and arena. We had probably 2,000 pigs this past 2 weekends ago at the Georgia National Fairgrounds. They were piled on top of each other. This new barn and arena will give a chance to spread out and hopefully have a much more enjoyable experience at a livestock show for the exhibitors and visitors as well. So we're looking forward to that. FY 2026, we received $1.15 million. Reeves Arena, Heritage Hall for upgrades to boilers and HVAC. We've got those under contract and they're underway. FY26, I want to thank you all for the $900,000 appropriation that's given to us. Of course, you know it offsets that $2.6 million cost to host all the youth events, youth agriculture events, and equine events in the state of Georgia. This year's ask, currently, what was put into the governor's budget is another approximately $2.5 million for HVAC replacements. Again, 36-year-old units that we're taking out and totally redoing. The 2.5 made it into the governor's budget. We're very grateful working with OPB. There were we were asked to put this in priority. We do have some paving and sealing issues that we'd like to deal with, as well as equipment and some upgrades to some other buildings, but this list puts everything in priority. Our economic impact throughout the year is about $133 million. That's goods and services that are sold in the state of Georgia because of our operation. We're very proud of that. We didn't just come up with that number. That's the Carl Vinson Institute. They came in and did that study for us. All right, the fun thing, and I wish the humanities lady was still here, America 250. We're going to celebrate it in a big way. But we've got two specific events that we've pulled out. First of all, the Georgia National Fair. I already think that we are the most patriotic fair in the country, but we're going to go above and beyond. We do have the Smithsonian's Museum on Main Street, Voices and Votes. It will be there all 11 days of the Georgia National Fair. We're looking forward to that. We're partnering with the Department of Agriculture. This year's theme will be Georgia Grown, America 250. Everything we coordinated with Robins Air Force Base for a C-130 flyover last year to kick off America 250. The government shut down right before that happened, so we were out of luck, but we're looking forward to a big year. It's kind of a new show that we're doing to celebrate America 250. Currently, we have what we call the Georgia National Antique Ag Show, which demonstrates probably the first 50 to 100 years of agriculture. For America 250, we're billing this show as Mules to Microchips. We're partnering with the Department of Agriculture, the UGA, University of Georgia, and the Grand Farm that is currently across the street from the fairgrounds. And the mission is to demonstrate a mule plowing next to an autonomous tractor that can plow twice as much. So we're doing everything we can to keep this event free to the public. We see it as an educational opportunity to demonstrate just how far agriculture and the American farmer have come in the last 250 years. With that, Mr. Chairman, it concludes my presentation. Available for any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from members of the committee? Dean Green.
Thank you. Thank you for the ideas surrounding the 250th anniversary. But keep in mind, Georgia was one of the 13 signers there, and Georgia needs to be emphasized every time you do that 250.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Any other questions? Mr. Stephen, thank you for being here today.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate all the work you do, and appreciate you being here today and all the work that the Expo Authority does in promoting agriculture and youth leadership with our students coming in. Thanks for all you do.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Mitch Attaway, Georgia Soil and Water Conservation Commission. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I appreciate the invite and the opportunity to give some updates on Georgia Soil and Water and quickly go over what's in our small budget for this year. Start on the updates in our conservation department. These are our 5 regional offices across the state that work closely with the 40 local soil and water conservation districts across the state. This fiscal year, we started doing something new with them due to staffing and workload. Usually the overviews where we work with the local municipalities about their erosion and sediment control department has been done with that E&S department. We've spread that out to them, and I'm happy to report they hit the ground running and have conducted 20 of those so far this fiscal year, along with conducting 50 almost 60 outreach events that are mainly focused on agriculture, conservation efforts, and work with the youth. So we get them at a early age, and they start to understand the importance of conservation and the state's natural resources. We've kicked off local issuing authority. These are your local municipalities focused training events. We hold one big erosion day in Athens every year where we have over 300 people, but we also thought that we might be better served as far as educational purposes if we get these personnel that are at the local level that are in charge to carry out state rules and regulations, if we can get them in a room of 10, 15, maybe 20 people at the max. They're more apt to ask questions and understand what we're trying to push across as a state agency and make sure they're understanding that. Started the first one of those a couple of weeks ago and have about half a dozen more on the books throughout the summer. Look forward to those. These staff members are also managing a little over $2.5 million to assist private landowners with conservation efforts on their property. One of the unique ones that we have going on, and I think I might have touched on this last time I had the opportunity to get in front of the committee, is a feral hog effort where we are using different types of fencing to fence out ag fields to see if that we can add that to another tool, to the tool belt or the toolbox for these ag producers with their feral hog issues. So far, we have worked with 22 ag producers in Southwest Georgia and have installed almost 250,000 feet of fence. So we look forward to see the results we have as planting season is coming up quickly in those areas, and we'll hopefully see some positive results on that. Watershed dams. Last year, Mr. Chairman, the committee saw the need to, for the first time ever, have us some maintenance funds for these dams as a line item. That was $150,000. At that time, I was reporting I thought we could hit maybe 60 to 65 dams with that money. Happy to report that we found a way to kind of work with our federal partners at USDA to expand that. We've increased that through their funding by $200,000 and increased the amount of dams that we were able to affect by about 20. So appreciate your effort on that, the committee, and look forward to continuing that. One last thing I'd want to mention in that area is we have 4 dams that are in the planning and design phase. That's the last steps before we get to construction. One of those is in Cherokee County. The other 3 are in Forsyth County. We're not ready yet to have a dollar amount for a bond request on those projects, but this time next year we feel that we will be. Just want to bring that up to the committee's attention. And lastly, our erosion and sediment control department. As you know, we run the certification program where individuals in that industry have to have certain certifications depending on the work that they're doing. We're at a little over 12, almost 13,000 certifications issued this year, which is about our average. And for the plan reviews, last fiscal year we reviewed over 4,200 plans. This year so far, we've reviewed 2,000, which puts us, I think we're targeting about 4,000 by the end of the fiscal year. Last time I had the opportunity to be in front of the committee, I believe the question was asked about the amount of plans that are an acre or less. So I ran some of those numbers, and 10% of those are less than 1 acre. So we don't have a lot of plans that are less than 1 acre, but what I found was interesting when I increased that search to up to 10 acres, 75% of our plans are 10 acres or less. And moving forward, the next time in front of this committee, I'll have it broken down by 3 to 5 acres as well, so we can kind of see that. This is more of a big budget FY27 topic, but I wanted to go ahead and just throw it out there as it's a big need for the agency. You just heard me talk about the plan reviews. I have an ask for currently a little over $100,000. This would provide an additional reviewer and raises for current positions. The reason for the addition is we're understaffed for the volume of plans. The raises would hopefully help address the over 140% turnover rate we've seen in that department in the last 3 years. And those employees are leaving us with about an 18-month average tenure. It takes 6 to 9 months to have somebody fully trained to review these plans. So basically, we're getting 9 months out of an employee before they're moving on. To touch on our small budget addition, we can be found on page 16 of your tracking document, 13.8.1, and in there you'll find the $2,000 supplement to our staff that we are very appreciative of. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have. Be happy to take any Any questions?
Thank you for those comments, and again, just want to reiterate what you had already mentioned in terms of your turnover rate of obviously 142%, and the significant work that you guys do in reviewing these plans and the need to try to work on that. So as we move forward with the 27 budget, look forward to working with you to try to address that need in some way.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, there's due to a lot of the good work that many agencies in here do, Georgia's been a desirable place to come move to live, work, and play. So we just want to make sure we can do our part to keep it that way.
We thank you for that. Any questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, thank you for being here today.
Yes, sir.
All right. Public Service Commission. Mr. Reese McAllister, come on down.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you
members
for
of the
being here
committee.
today. Floor is yours.
Good to see you again. Can't believe it's been 2 months since we did this, but time flies by. So want to thank you for allowing us input in the budget process today. On behalf of the entire Public Service Commission staff, we want to thank you for what you put in our budget for FY26 to help with retention for many of our employees. And we'd like to thank you and the governor as well for the one-time salary supplements that have been proposed as well. So as you know, the PSC has a complex mission of energy regulation. Finding and retaining skilled staff is an ongoing challenge, and your work with our budget goes a long way in helping us fulfill our role for the citizens of Georgia. As we shared back in November, Georgia, like many states, has seen an unprecedented load growth on the power grid. As recently as 2022, in our previous IRP, Georgia Power is predicting load growth of 400 new megawatts, only 400 megawatts over 7 years. But the most recent predictions show load growth in the range of 10,000 megawatts. To put that in perspective, Georgia Power currently deploys about 22,000 megawatts statewide today, and Georgia Power is effectively seeing a 45% growth increase from that number. So this new load growth, it brings challenges and opportunities. In December, to meet that need, the PSC approved a generational investment in our energy infrastructure. We approved this in a way that will protect existing ratepayers from the needs of new large load customers, specifically data centers, the word that is very popular today here on the Hill and in the media. So, and our hearing room has become ground zero, it seems like, for the data center issue. But I'd like to state clearly, the PSC does not approve or certify data centers. It has no say in the approval of site selection for data centers, nor does it monitor data center construction. The PSC's mission is to ensure that Georgia Power can meet the needs of its customer base and to prevent cost shifting from one customer to another. This mission is critical to the economic development of the state, and our decision in December falls directly in line with this mission. I have with me today our utility director, thank goodness, Mr. Bond. Tom Bond's here, so if you have any questions regarding load growth or our efforts to prevent cost shifting, Mr. Bond will handle those questions, thankfully, not me. As far as the amended FY26 budget, the PSC requests help for the construction monitoring process for this new Georgia Power low growth infrastructure. The annual state appropriation for the PSC is relatively small compared to other state agencies, but the decisions of the commission impact the entire state. In the governor's proposed AFY 2026 budget, the PSC would receive about $13.3 million in state funds. Because we're a small agency, even small changes in the energy sector can place large burdens on our staff. And as we said previously, it's a 45% increase in just the energy load alone, and this massive increase in energy load caused by data centers is going to add a significant workload for the PSC. Specifically, the PSC must monitor new construction as Georgia Power's infrastructure expands. Right now, we have 3 new units that are under construction at Plant Yates in Newnan. We also have expansion at 3 other plants that will begin this year as well, with 5 additional units to help generate the needed energy load growth. The PSC is charged with ensuring that Georgia Power spends money prudently when constructing this new infrastructure. Ensuring prudent spending on construction directly corresponds to lower rates charged by Georgia Power for their ratepayers. The PSC is already short-handed on staff for construction monitoring. We have one person, so that's pretty short-staffed. On construction monitoring, and qualified construction monitors can take time to train. To meet the workload, we plan to promote from within our own staff and begin cross-training immediately because of the need. We then plan to backfill the existing positions that we've opened up for this purpose. To adequately monitor Georgia Power's upcoming construction projects, the PSC needs one engineer at a salary of $85,000, $144,500 after it's been trued up for fringe benefits, and a new financial analyst at a salary of $75,000 or $127,500 after true up for fringe benefits, for a total of $272,000 to fully fund both positions. As we met with OPB last October, and as we met with you in November, we mentioned that we might have a request coming. We didn't know at that time. We were in hearings, and those hearings have been concluded. So this is why this need exists. As construction moves forward on other projects, the PSC is likely to ask for more construction monitors, but those additional asks can wait at least until another budget cycle. In our conclusion, as always, the Public Service Commission and PSC staff work hard to remain good stewards of the people's money. We welcome any questions or comments on funds that have been appropriated, on our request for future funding, on PSC construction monitoring, and also on infrastructure expansion. So any questions?
Thank you for that presentation. Couple of things. Can you update us on the pipeline inspectors that we've put in the budget over the last couple of years and how that's working?
Yes, sir. We've been able to fill all those positions. As we've stated prior, it's hard to find qualified people. Many times when we get them trained, the industry comes and takes advantage of our training that we've invested and hires them away. So right now, of all the positions you've approved, they're filled. And we're examining right now the possibility of needing more, but our most recent audit from the feds got us a much better score. So we're very satisfied there and still working to improve that program.
Great work there. And are you in a position to talk about whether or not the current salary for those positions is enough to retain those positions rather than getting them hired, trained, and losing them to somebody else?
I think Mr. Baum would agree. We've put in place a structure based on training, because every time they get a level of training, we increase their salary, which has helped with retention for those individuals. We're always open to increasing that, but for right now, I think Mr. Bond, as a utility director, would be satisfied with that salary structure.
Okay, thank you, sir. And then on the request for the amended 26 budget, the additional engineer and financial analyst, what do you have an estimate of the equipment cost for those two positions or anything they may need?
They wouldn't need, equipment other than, computers. We already have a car that they can use to go to the sites. It would require going to the construction sites fairly regularly. And it's 3 different plants, and we have a 4th one that's already under construction, so it does require a bit of driving, but we're not asking for a vehicle because we already have one that's available for them to use.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members of the committee? All righty. Thank you, sir. Appreciate y'all being here today. Thank you, man. Give our best to the chairman. All righty, Mr. John, Department of Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Members
Thank
of
you
the
for being here
committee.
today.
Thank you. So, name is John Moffitt with the Department of Economic Development, and we are the sales and marketing team for the state of Georgia. And all our previous speakers have talked about all the successes Georgia has had, and we couldn't do it without all their help and all the partnerships that we have with our other agencies. We have World Congress Center here, we have Community Affairs, and we work very closely with all of them. Just a couple highlights of last year, just to give you some of the successes. that we had last year. Tourism, $82 billion in total economic impact, which is a tremendous amount. 174 million people in total visitation. Trade, 53 billion in exports, so we broke the 50 billion mark for 4 years in a row. That's a record. Global commerce, 26 billion in investment. You notice these numbers are all in billions, which is incredible. And over 23,000 jobs in the private sector. Centers of innovation, 441 companies served. Now, those of you who don't know about the Centers of Innovation, they work mostly with small businesses who are looking to take their business to the next level. So they're our connecting point from a small business to the research universities around the state, like Georgia Tech and others like that. And so we help those small businesses be able to make those connections with those research facilities to be able to make that transition to the next step for them in their business operation, whether it's manufacturing on a line or something like that, or something with plastics and things of that nature. The film department, 245 productions last year, including 13 feature films and 42 independent films. I know Mr. Wilson, the commissioner, good friend of mine, talked about Stranger Things, and it was incredible because they spent 804 days filming in Georgia last year, hired over 3,700 Georgians, and $298 million in crew payments. So all that money is going to Georgians. The arts, which is another great example of how we help small businesses, $5 million in grants last year to the arts. And they go out there and they hit all areas of the state. They're not just in the metro area. The arts is out there helping out small businesses throughout the state. When we look at our 26 amended budget, one of the items in there in the Department of Administration is $3 million. That money is going to be used for, as you can see, tourism, promoting tourism, update agency marketing, and enhance recruiting efforts. As far as the tourism piece goes, we're working hand in hand with World Congress Center this year. We have a little event called the FIFA World Cup, and we're trying to capitalize on that, not only as the visitors are here, but also when they leave to remember Georgia. So on that, we're using a lot of those funds for that. We're also using some of those funds for web enhancements. The web enhancements we need to transition over are going to help with search engine optimization, advancements in analytics and things like that, so we can keep track of things, we can do research and see what people are really looking for and what the advancements need to be. We're also looking for, as we stated in that, agency marketing materials. We're going to be doing an ad in the Atlanta magazine. They asked us we do an ad for the World Cup. We're going to do that. And the nice thing about that is that's a memento piece, so people are going to hold on to those things. And so when they look at that, they're going to see Georgia all the time. They're going to see our ad in there, and that leads to return visitation. We're also, looking for paid media, group travel, things like that. We go out to trade shows. That's how we promote Georgia. We're not only promoting Georgia domestically, but we're internationally. And I know the numbers are, they say we're in 12 countries and this and that. We're probably in a little bit more. But what we have is we have 12 contracts, but some of the contracts include a couple countries. An example of that would be Chile, Argentina, and Peru. Those one contract. Colombia and Mexico, that's one contract. So we're all around the globe promoting Georgia, and we've had these relationships with these people for years, and it just shows how well we're doing because they want to stay on with us. So that $3 million, the other question was, it is best used in admin. And we feel that it's the best use in administration in that bucket because the marketing team is going to be using a lot of that spend. And they're pretty much housed in the admin program, those positions, and they're going to be spending that money. And so I know a question was, would it be better suited in tourism? Actually, the best location is admin. That's why we requested that in administration. Outside of that, we're very grateful for the $2,000 that people are getting. People don't realize some people may think that's a small amount. It's not a small amount. That helps tremendously with morale, and people are very excited about that. We talk about, the economy and things like that, how payroll may have not been keeping up with inflation and things like that, so little things like that make a tremendous difference, and the people are very excited about that. There is one item in here that I'd like to mention. I did mention it with Bailey on the $2,000 for the arts. It's in the wrong program, so we would like to have that move from special projects. That group for special projects, for transparency purposes, was moved to a new program to just show the grants that we have for arts. So that includes the $976,000 we have for state money for grants, plus the money we get from NEA. So if you look at that on my sheet here, I think it's 23.4 special projects. We would like that 15,000 to move up to 23.3, because that's where the payroll is being paid for those people in that division, Georgia Council for the Arts. After that, the final items here are in tourism, and our friends over at the Humanities spoke about the $110,000, and we are working with them close hand in hand along with the Historical Society on the 250 celebration this year. We're working on that, and we want to make sure that what we're going to look to do is we're going to have our website updates where all the communities, they can reach out to us and let us know what they're doing for that special day. This way, anyone can look at our website and go, hey, what's going on in this location? What's going on in that location? And they can give us that information. The other piece in here is the World Congress Center, and Kevin and his team will be talking about that $10 million. If you see that there, you see it's for the Super Bowl. And so that's another item that if there's any discussion on that or questions, they could probably, without a doubt, handle questions a lot better than I can. That's pretty much for our amended budget for FY26. Again, I want to thank you all for all the help you do for us, because economic development is a team sport, and it starts at the top, and all our agencies, the governor, the House, the Senate, you all know the importance of it. You help us as best you can in giving us the tools, the right business environment here in Georgia. The weather doesn't hurt, even though it was a little crazy the last few days, but it wasn't that bad. Where I came from in New Jersey, it was a lot worse, so we should be very thankful. With that, sir, and the committee, that's our report. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir, for that presentation. Back to 1.2 on the $3 million. Do you anticipate that being 1/3 tourism, 1/3 agency marketing, 1/3 recruiting efforts? How do you anticipate? I know you said it'll be spent in all three buckets, but how do you anticipate that $3 million being divvied up?
We expect between $1.5 to $2 million going towards the tourism and marketing with the World Cup and things like that. Then we expect about $500,000 comparable to that for $500,000 to $700,000 for the website upgrades. And that website upgrades, keep in mind, is all interchangeable. That's going to help with 250. It's going to help with the World Cup and things like that, plus going forward from that. Then the remaining money we're hoping is going to work with our outside marketing materials for other agencies, for other divisions within our agency, and upgrades on that.
All right. Any questions? Dean Green.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that very much. Going back to the tourism thing, how much does the state of Georgia take in for every $5 that we take into?
I'd have to look at that. That's pretty hard to, I think, establish. I know years ago, the department said for every dollar spent, you get a $7.62 return. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know. We'd have to, I mean, great question, but to get answers to that, it costs a lot of money to do that type of research. And so we can dig into that and see if we can come up with a number, but I don't honestly have an answer for that right now. On every dollar that we spend, what the return is on marketing dollars, is your question?
Yes.
Yeah. We can look into that. I'm sure we have some ballpark. I just don't have it on hand right now, sir.
Further question. The state of Georgia does the amount of monies that we give for marketing is very low.
Yeah.
I would like to see if there's a way, and I believe that $5 goes to the Department of, through the transportation, as we set it up years ago. Mm-hmm. And I think it's beyond the $100,000 threshold. I would like for us to look at some way of looking at that monies to be divided up into our tourism and marketing.
Yeah, I mean, as the sales and marketing arm for the state, We've gone through the recession of 08, 09. We had cuts in 11 and 12 and 21. Our marketing dollars from 08 to now is 55% less. We were at 18 million, we're down to 8 million now. So that gives you an idea of where we're at.
Yes, it's time that we really took a strong look at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Green. Mr. Gilliard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm elated about the upcoming American 250, the anniversary. Is that going to be grant privy to the different municipalities on those funds?
Well, we don't have any grant funds for that, so we're working with Humanities and Historical Society. Humanities got an additional $110,000 in our budget for amended 26. That's a pass-through from us to them. I don't know about any granting, what they're doing on that. I mean, I don't know what kind of funding, if they've received anything like that. Now, if arts community are doing certain special things, or art grants could help with those types of issues.
And my second question, if you further yield, always it's an attribute for tourism. Savannah's #2 in feature film. Are there any plans, you were talking about marketing, with all that's going on with the film industry, to kind of do a reboot, to retain other folk to come back to Georgia? Is there any effort with marketing dollars on that?
Yeah, we're always trying to market. I mean, the nice thing about, you know, when we had the Film Act, a lot of these agencies and businesses that grew, they grew organically. They don't get the 30%, you know, discount. And so, you know, most other states now have copied what Georgia. I mean, Georgia made a bold move back in 2007 and 2008 when people getting rid of those programs. Georgia said, we're going to institute this new film tax credit. And it was tremendous. I mean, we were talking, you know, at one point, you know, maybe, you know, $250 million to like over $2.3 billion. We are having some issues with the Teamsters now, and that's driving a lot of things with the film industry. And, you know, when prices like that raise, it's hard to come in here and they can go somewhere cheaper. So we're trying to work through some of those issues right now.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can't come to a committee meeting without us talking about how we're going to involve the rest of the state when it comes to the soccer games coming up. I know that the commissioner mentioned the efforts during the full committee joint hearings, but for the sake of the members who might not have been here, can you update us on where we are with the thought process of bringing community leaders from around our state to Atlanta to interact with world leaders who are here during those games?
Well, like I said, the website, we're going to work on that. We're working with the Georgia World Congress Center, and I think they can speak, but there's an activation center there. So what we're trying to do is create like an atmosphere at the World Congress Center where people can come, have set up about their communities, what their communities have to offer, talking about watch parties and things like that that communities do to see these things. And all these things are going to be on our website, how to go about it, what they need to do, and things like that, and any resources that they need or who to contact for that.
Will there be an effort to communicate to those who are attending, the business leaders, that is set up there for that specific purpose?
So we'll be looking at the business leaders that are looking to come and the business leaders that we are currently invested in, and all business leaders for that matter. I mean, this is an opportunity. I think Kevin will say, I think we have this audience for like 37 days.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that on those off days that they have a whole Georgia to go look at. And so that's what we're hoping to do with these monies in our website, is to really branch out and talk about that with the help from the World Congress Center and help any communities that they want, but also to really make that an event where everyone can participate in and enjoy it.
Well, thank you for those efforts. We just want to make sure that we don't miss the opportunity for rural Georgia to have an opportunity to come up and visit with those who will be here and possibly recruit businesses to their districts as well.
And we want to make sure that it's return visits.
Right.
You know, we want them here, but we want to say, hey, come back.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? That's all. Thank you. Appreciate you being here today.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Shane Hicks from Georgia Environmental Finance. Thank you for being here today. Mr. Hicks, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having us, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. We appreciate the opportunity to present on the amended budget. My name is Shane Hicks. I'm the Director of Public Affairs and IT for the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority, and I'm joined by Jamie Harden. He is our Director of Financial Services. I want to mention we have had a change in leadership over the past few months. In November, Governor Kemp nominated and appointed Trey Bennett to be our Executive Director. Unfortunately, Trey had a funeral to attend for a close relative and could not be in person today, so wanted to pass that along. The Georgia Environmental Finance Authority, since 1986, this is our 40th year, has financed more than $6 billion in infrastructure projects for water and wastewater, stormwater, all over the state of Georgia. And we also manage several energy efficiency and renewable energy programs with federal funding. We also monitor the state fuels tanks to make sure they are staying up to date on all of their compliance issues. And as mentioned earlier, we are the lead for ESF 12, Emergency Support Function 12, with GEMA and Homeland Security on energy and fuel. So our staff were busy this weekend monitoring our power outages and fuel supply to make sure there are any urgent resource requests, we were able to get those power and fuel services restored. The amended budget is pretty straightforward for GFA. I would refer you to line 16.8. We have a $35 million appropriation recommended by the governor to support natural gas infrastructure. Last year, the legislature passed Senate Bill 13, and the governor signed it into law, giving us the authority to finance natural gas infrastructure throughout the state. We have a lot of local gas systems that I think, as many of us realize, are running into capacity issues with their natural gas infrastructure. And this is vital to support economic development in the rural parts of our state. And so we're really excited about this program. It is a natural fit to support what we've been doing for the last 40 years on water and wastewater. And so we're really appreciative of the governor's recommendation and the legislature's support, hopefully, as we go through the session for this $35 million in financing. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you for being here today and for that update. On the $35 million, do you have adequate staff in place to handle this new program, or will additional staffing be needed in order to get this up and running?
We are discussing the possibility of one additional staffer in our Energy Resources Division to help manage this program.
And with that, I presume that you're currently working on the guidelines that you will use to set forth the competitive process for the $35 million the governor has added in the budget.
Yes, that is correct. We're working on the framework. We hope to have something by this summer on how the program will work to provide the low-interest financing. And then from there, we'll move forward to, taking applications and hopefully awarding some projects.
Well, thank you for that update. Any questions? Well, that's it. Thanks for being here today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks to the employees who worked during the storm to make sure that Georgians' needs were addressed.
Thank you. I'll pass that along.
Thank you very much. Department of Community Affairs, Commissioner Nunn. This one.
Good afternoon. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'll be brief I know you're running long in the meeting, and I'll just kind of dive in on the tracking sheet. Christopher Nunn, Department of Community Affairs, great to be with you all. Certainly appreciate the support. I won't go into depth, just thanking you for the $2,000, but I echo what you've heard from everyone else. That really does go a long way, and it tells our employees that they are important and that they are valued, and the great work that they do is really second to none. On 16.6.2 in your tracking sheet, I will highlight a $50 million ad in one-time funds for the State Housing Trust Fund to address homelessness through matching funds for local governments and nonprofit organizations. I don't think that you have to look very far, no matter where you are in the state, to appreciate that that there is an increase in homelessness. I mentioned at the joint budget hearing, this is a very complicated issue. In fact, I've shared with y'all over in the past years that there was a GAO study a couple of years ago, 2020 actually, it was 2020 data, that highlighted that for every $100 increase in rent, in average rent in a community, there is a corresponding 9% increase in homelessness. We know that this is a challenge, that housing is a challenge for many of our 11.2 million Georgians. We also know that while $50 million is a lot of money, when you look across the state, that's not an enormous amount of money to address the housing needs across the state. And so the intent with these funds is to target unsheltered homelessness, those folks who are on the street. And there were a couple of questions that I did make note of in the joint hearing, because it is true that trying to address people and their needs before they become homeless is an important challenge. We also we know that because we administered, along with a handful of local governments, $1.3 billion in one-time federal funds over an 18-month period 2 years ago for that purpose. These $50 million will be used to provide flexible grants to local governments and nonprofits who come with solutions that are locally driven. So we believe that the solution to address unsheltered homelessness in Atlanta looks different, perhaps, than the solution to address unsheltered homelessness in Savannah, certainly looks different than the solution to address unsheltered homelessness in Tifton or Statesboro. We expect that these funds will simply enable the state to work alongside local communities that are working with their local partners to address their local needs. Address unsheltered homeless. The second piece that we anticipate is that these funds will be leveraged. So $50 million would be leveraged by local skin in the game. That can come from local community commitment. It can come through philanthropic commitment. And to clarify a question that came up, and I think it came up from a senator in the joint hearing, I am not the fundraiser. We're not looking to go out and fundraise to expand this. We simply, in a competitive grant application process, will look for all of those grants to bring money to the table, and we would be looking to participate alongside those local funds to develop sustainable solutions, whether that's providing capital, whether that's providing for services, wraparound services as a part of an overall strategy. So we will absolutely look to leverage these with matching grants from local communities. And then the third piece, and I'll tell you that this was modeled in part off of what we have seen and talked about with some of our sister states. I know there were a handful of us that went out to Texas and met with some folks out there, and they've put some flexible grant funds, made them available to communities. We don't want to put a lot of requirements because we want to allow the local governments to drive the innovative solutions, but we do need some data. And so we also expect there to be a reporting element that is required out of this. That's really the plan, the cursory plan at this point. But again, we're asking your support for that $50 million ad. Mr. Hicks reported on 1681 in the GFA. I will tell you, Trey Bennett is off to a great start, and he's doing a great job. And we've talked a little bit about their plans to roll out that new program, and of course, we will support them any way we are able in that regard. It's at 16.9.1. This is actually a reduction, although it is reflected in forestry and in the ag budget as an addition. So we're simply recommending that these funds be moved. Last year, you included $25 million in the budget to address hurricane disaster response. And we appreciated the opportunity to stand up a new program to address hurricane disaster relief. We actually did that in conjunction with some federal disaster funding as well. We rolled out a program that was eligible for, or that was open to applicants from local communities as well as nonprofits. I know that we've talked about the fact that, you know, we needed to get blue tarps off of roofs, and I got an update from our federal funded program. We have had to date, as of yesterday, 5,681 pre-applications from every eligible county in the for those disaster funds, and of those pre-applications, 1,576 are in process with a full application, so they've been qualified, and we are assessing the home for home repair, roof repair, things of that nature. With these funds that you appropriated, the $25 million, we have made 17 grants through 2 grant rounds, totaling $13.8 million thereabouts, to communities really all across that affected area from Valdosta to Augusta and much rural area in between. These funds have been, I think, really critical to address non-FEMA and non-insurance related or covered needs in communities that really needed to address some catastrophic issues, you know, culvert repairs, building repairs that weren't insured, and weren't going to be able to wait for federal disaster funds down the road. So we've made those grants. The recommendation here is to move the remaining funds of that $25 million to address timber-related disaster needs that is, I think, in keeping with the legislative intent of those funds. And then at 16.9.2, we have a recommendation of $15 million to continue the rural site development program. I think I reported the other day, to date, we have made 11 infrastructure grants across the state. If you think about the history of One Georgia, over 25 years, we've invested about $800 million in communities, you know, all across the state. Certainly, you know, throughout both of your districts, and you know, really, I think it's about 140 counties that have been touched by One Georgia. Many of those smaller industrial parks that locals have marketed for years have been consumed over the last 5 years as we've had unexpected or unprecedented economic success. And so this is really a program of how do we rebuild some of that capacity. And we've made 11 grants. We've also extended 11 planning scholarship grants for $50,000 to $150,000 to help communities with some of the engineering and the design and the environmental studies that are necessary to pursue the Department of Economic Development's grad certification. As those communities achieve grad certification, we anticipate a continued pipeline and demand for the infrastructure grants. And so that's the recommendation here, is to continue that program with the $15 million. That's really the only, that's all we've got in the amended budget, but I'm happy to entertain questions if there are any.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, for being here and that update. And I do know that the rural site development funds have been important to many communities across our state. Any questions from members of the committee? All right, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much.
Director Sabo, come on up. Georgia Forestry Commission.
No, it is. I just forgot how you full screen it. Oh. I'm pretty sure you probably know.
Is it on a PDF?
It is on the PDF.
Oh, that I don't know. I know how to do it on a...
I totally forgot how you do this.
I don't know either. You want me to just put it on a thumb drive? All right, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for being here today.
Yes, sir.
Floor is yours.
Thank you, appreciate that. And I feel like I got to say for the record, I won't say which past speaker, but somebody made the comment, they filmed Stranger Things for 804 days last year, and that pretty much sums up the forest industry and forestry community. That was a very good representation. I always like to remind everybody of our mission, vision, and core values, and that really reflects in who we are, and especially the, integrity, respect, and equality, using facts to drive our decisions, and, being responsible for our own success. And that's, to me, that's something I think a little bit rare in government, especially those, that very last one, and I really feel like our folks just embody that. Quick highlight on some recovery efforts. And so this ties back to last year. We were able to purchase 29 additional tractors with the 10.9 in total that we received, or sorry, the 12 million, the 1.1 that we had in our budget, and the 10.9 in the amended budget. 5 tractors have been received. The other 4, I mean, when I say they're weeks away, they are literally weeks away. The fuel mitigation program, that was the cost share program for landowners to help clean up. Almost 2,500 applications. So we did a second sign up because we reached out to every single applicant that we had to find out where they were, if there was help that they needed. And one thing we were able to do through that program, or through those calls, were link loggers who might have been misplaced from the loss of industry to help them with landowners who had funds to clean up. So that helped bridge the gap, but we did have roughly 16 million in landowners saying they were going to use the federal EFRP fund. So that's why we did the second sign up. Way more than enough applicants now to utilize the funds. So I maintain that a lot of those landowners did indicate that they are waiting on the block grant funding to have money in hand to help a cleanup to begin that program. Also, we had 3 million of those funds separated out to help with the fire lines, forest roads, over 3,700 miles of roads, and that's or fire lines and roads, and that's just in the impact area. That's not statewide. That we utilize those funds for, over 11,000 equipment hours, and we'll keep doing free fire lines and breaks until we run out of funds. And just really been an outstanding program, and really important to our employees and their safety, and we'll get to that later on. Some key performance indicators that I did not go over in a joint session that I wanted to highlight. The first one so far this fiscal year, over 2,100 wildfires for 11,000 acres. When you drill down to it, that's a 5.1 acre average for wildfires. So even with the increased fuel loading, the increased fires, we're still maintaining our 5 to 6 acre fire average, and really just want to thank our personnel there. And once again, that ties back into this committee and the help that you've given us with the right equipment, the funding to put those lines in, and be proactive and not just wait. Forest management, our southern pine beetle spots are greatly down. That was a big concern with the hurricane. What type of pine beetle activity will we have? So those numbers are down 75% from where they were last year. So really just good news from a forest health perspective there. The other thing that we did, and I wanted to highlight, was we added 4 additional foresters to the field. So some of our leadership came together through retirements, and they took 4 positions, which it does decrease promotional opportunity for people. Leadership willingly took on more, and we were able to put 4 additional foresters into the impact area to help with the caseloads and workloads, and that so far has just been an outstanding effort. 5.6% turnover last year. That includes retirements. Without retirements, we're looking at 3.6% turnover for the agency. So could not be proud of our agency, our leadership. And to me, I think that just speaks to the culture of where we are and the work that's been done, by the members to help give us the funding and have the salaries where they should be. We also dedicated our building to John Mixon this past year. That was passed last year in a resolution. So Mr. Mixon was a former state forester and just really a pioneer in many ways in our industry. So that was a outstanding opportunity that we had. Diving off into our AFY budget, AFY 26 budget. As everybody said, the employee supplemental to $2,000, that goes a long ways. I don't think I have to speak to anybody. Just the cost of living and what that is and how impactful that can be. So this just helps morale, helps folks that maybe been putting things on credit cards for too long and just kind of get their feet back underneath them. So just a huge win and something we fully support within the agency. $107,000 in operational funds for the new helicopter. That is a picture of our new helicopter, so we will get that later on this. We will bring it to Georgia later this week. It is in Virginia right now, doing a few little minor touches on it. So we told them we don't want to take ownership until it is 100% how we want it. But obviously it flies, so that's a good start. But that $107,000 will be that's the last quarter funds of what we'll see for our FY27 budget. And that was in conversation with OPB, just funds we knew we would need since it was an addition to fleet when we talk about fuel, maintenance, everything else. I'm going to skip the 10.9 to Georgia Forestry Innovation Initiative because I will touch that on the next slide. $148,000 in pass-through grant funding for Talbot County. That's just our traditional pass-through funding. And then there's a $60,000, it's internal but staying with us, but going from management to our forest protection. So just wanted to mention that since it's on your sheet. The last one that's on here that's not part of the timber task force is $12 million for tractor replacement. Last year was 10.9, but in total it was 1.1 because we had 1.1 worth of equipment funds. This year the ask is at 1.1, and in FY27 will be shifted to operational funds to help with the increase in fire. So to get our 12 million total that we were able to obtain last year, it's in this year's amended budget. And happy to have more discussion later on if you would like. Governor's Forestry Task Force. I'll start with the mass timber building. So that is actually a picture of a mass timber facility just outside of Chattanooga. That's the only one we've been able to find that may kind of resemble the inside of a county unit. And that's what we're looking at, something similar within Morgan County, and that's what the 2.6 is for. It would be the state's first, as far as a state agency, first mass timber facility. You know, there's some nuances to it that we want to figure out. Projection costs, to be honest, do look like they're roughly 10% more than your average cost, but we're trying to work with builders and architects who have utilized mass timber before. What you'll find if an architect or builder has not used it, they shy away from it, and they'll price it like they're building a traditional building. But there's a lot of cost gain from when you do start receiving it on site and start building. Really good example is a story here for Ponce City Market. When they were building the mass timber facility adjacent to it, there were 6 workers putting the thing together, and the building behind it had 50 plus building the same size building. So we know there's efficiencies to find, and that's our ask, is let the Georgia Forestry Commission kind of be the guinea pigs for the state, find those efficiencies, and how do we start utilizing more mass timber. Commissioner Harper touched on the Georgia grown wood. That is in the Department of Ag budget as where it should be. Great partnership between us, Department of Ag, and forest industry partners. And once again, this project specifically, but really all the projects, Georgia's behind in the loss of industry, and that's a good thing for many reasons. We recently lost industry, but our other states, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, they lost industry years ago. So we're at the back of the line, so to say. And so how do we attract more industry? How do we get to the front of the line? And that's a big piece of this. Georgia being the #1 state to do business helps, our ports, our rail system, everything that's factored in there. But how do we help tell our story? And this Georgia Grown Wood project is a huge part of it. The increased funds for the Georgia Forestry Innovation Initiative with Georgia Tech, that is, you may have heard the term like the Rewood Group out of Georgia Tech. They have been doing the research for years now. So these are not funds to do research specifically. These are funds to take those research and go scale up and partner with industry through their transfer technology program and work with our companies within the state. And how do you take those wood products to the residuals? They use small diameter woods, even the less desirable species, and that's the market we lost, right? That the small diameter market is the market we lost. So how do they take those species and turn them into things like pharmaceutical coatings, carbon black for tires, just a wide array of different things. One thing that I read a full statement during the joint appropriations, and I don't want to read it now, but I do want to make sure I get these numbers right. So the projection for the 2-year economic impact could add up to $2 billion to Georgia's GDP, and at full maturity could grow up to $80 billion. Already starting to have conversations with the technical college and how do we start ramping up programs when we start looking at chemical manufacturing and different things that we typically haven't had tied to forest industry, and so that we have the workforce to see this out all the way to the end. So really excited about this. There's no other states that are doing anything like this that I've seen or I'm aware of, and we're really just blessed to have somebody like a Georgia Tech in this state that have those knowledge, skills, and abilities. Wildfire outlook. The governor mentioned during his presentation over 4,000 wildfires last year, over 26,000 acres. I know 26,000 acres sounds like a lot, but when we think about the amount of forested acres we have in this state, that is less than 0.1% of our forested acres that actually burned. So once again, just want to thank our team for the work that they've done. Outstanding job. One thing that's actually happening today, it was happening this afternoon, our Okefenokee Swamp down in that southeast corner is historically low. And so there's a meeting happening right now with really our team leads, ICs, my deputies down there, and just having a conversation and getting ready for it now. We'd rather prepare and it starts raining and hopefully nothing's needed, but it's looking like it could be a really active spring in the swamp. So it's leadership from Florida, Georgia, the swamp, some federal teams, and really the message being delivered from the Georgia Forestry Commission is the private forest industry and private forest landowners have had enough over the last several years between Helene, Lawson Mills, and everything else. And so we're going to have good, safe, but aggressive firefighting tactics. And we're not looking for massive burnouts and things in the past that may have been past practices. We're going to be really aggressive. So I'm eager to talk to my deputy and see how that message goes over. I mentioned it's been busy, so this was last week. It's kind of like a tale of 2 weeks, right? These are some fires we've had at night, just very aggressive, heavy fuel loading in the impact area for a while. Montgomery County, Tattnall County, that area was really hot. We've had to limit authorizations and try to get ahead, especially since we've had most of our crews in the north end of the state working. The rainfall helped, but we did not have enough rainfall to where this threat is gone. So this is something we really expect to pick back up in the upcoming weeks, especially with the amount of wind that we've had. And then Commissioner Harper mentioned the partnership that we had for Winter Storm Fern. And I love this picture because you have DNR, GFC, and Department of Ag, some law enforcement officers all in one. This is about 5 chainsaw crews with law enforcement support while they're working. And so this was pre-storm. They're smiling, so they hadn't been running a chainsaw in single-digit weather yet. But it just to me, this is how state government should function, for us to work together, not duplicate efforts, and really do good for the citizens. Latest update is we've cleared 25 counties, and by we, I mean all of these agencies. 25 counties, assessed over 2,500 miles of road, cleared 207 miles of road full of debris. We're currently in 3 counties, and the hardest 3 hit counties, Habersham, White, and Raven. And out of lunch, Raven dumped Habersham gave us about 60 requests of county roads that need to be cleared. So probably another day and a half worth of clearing, and then we will wrap that one up and get everybody home and rested. With that, I'd like to say thank you and also mention our tagline there at the bottom, the fighting fire, protecting forests, serving Georgia. And that's something as we've started to get out and talk to people and help tell our story, what do we do? I will say somebody mentioned that we should change our name, and I said absolutely not. That's not happening. But our communications group came up with about 6 or 7 different taglines, and we sent out to all of our employees, and overwhelmingly this was their favorite. They thought this represented them and who they are and what they do. And so just couldn't be more proud of them, and I think that is a very accurate description of the Georgia Forestry Commission. So happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you, Director, and thank you for the great work that your team has done across our state and working to assist Georgians in time of need. We know that this isn't the first time Georgia Forestry has responded to an incident. We know it won't be the last, but do appreciate the great work that they do day in and day out protecting citizens of our state, and look forward to the additional conversation as we move forward with the transfer of funds over to move research to the next level to assist an industry that has, as you've mentioned, it's had enough.
Yes, sir.
That from mill closures to the impacts of jobs, the nearly 3,500 direct and indirect jobs that have been impacted by the closure of mills, the impact on the landowners, and not just those, but also the contractors that work with those mills. I mean, it's a ripple effect across all our communities across Georgia, from Savannah and International Paper to Cedar Springs on the west side of the state. So it's very important we continue to work with you and your team and the industry to move the industry forward during this difficult time. As you've said many times over, we need that next Hurdy moment.
Yes, sir.
And it's coming, so we look forward to working with you on that. And just for gratification of members of the committee, we do have the governor's task force report that was also on the desk of the members this morning. That was task force that was convened after the announcement of the closure of International Paper and other mills to give us a deeper dive. So thank you for the great work that you've done. We know it has not been an easy couple of months, but thank you for the work that you continue to do as we move the state forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Duval, Georgia World Congress Center. You're fine.
Well, good afternoon, Chairman Meeks. Thank you and the committee for your time today. Thank you, Bailey, for getting us all set up here. We'll be working from the tracking sheet, page 10. On the tracking sheet for the World Congress Center, 50.1.41. And I also understand there may be something under economic development that we want to cover. But thanks so much again for allowing us to be here today. I want to start off by hopefully, okay. Well, okay. All right, here. You always have to carry a backup, so hold on here. Stand by. All right. Bailey, is it okay if I take this out? I got to. Oh, thank you. All right, let me try to drive again here. Oops. That's the wrong one. All right. Okay, let's try that again, Chairman. Excuse me about that. Recently just released our last fall FY25 economic impact. Clearly, the events we host on our campus, it's well known that they generate economic impact, support jobs, and helped, at least this fiscal year, $1.9 billion in economic impact. One of the things we've been working on that I think is important to illustrate a little bit further and maybe take a closer look at is a heat map of where we spend some of our dollars in GWCCA managed facilities across the state of Georgia. And so we've worked with collecting some of our partners that we work with and where we spend our money across the state of Georgia. And so what you see before you is just kind of a version 1. And we're continuing to work on several versions of this of where we have economic impact. And important for me and important for everybody in the state of Georgia to know is 101 out of 159 counties we have impact in or spend money in, whether that's buying goods or personnel or people living there in those counties. And so that equates to about $290 million. Certainly always pleased and want to say thank you to the governor and the legislature for the support that we receive on all the capital requests that we have in the past. Reflective on the screen before you is obviously the transportation terminal and pedestrian mall, but also the end result of the Signia by Hilton Atlanta. We just finished our second year of operation, believe it or not. I can remember talking about it going to be open, but we've finished our second year of operation. It's done really well. But we had an investment of the World Congress Center over $500 million for that facility. Other projects we completed that we're putting in action today is inclusive of the BC Exhibit Hall. And so certainly excited about that. IPPE is in the house right now, the International Production and Processing Expo, or poultry as some of us used to call it, but they've relabeled and also have the meat industry with them. But they're 600,000 square feet going strong right now, open this morning, and 30,000 folks are in town for that show. Clearly, the Orange Deck helps us take care of all the folks we have there, so we're appreciative of that funding too. Funding in progress right now. Anytime you have to replace over 1 million square feet of roofing, it does take some time. I'm happy to report that we're about 70% of the way there, and on our final building of roof replacement. Escalator modernization, we're replacing 35 escalators within the facility, and that takes time too. And pleased to report we're 66% complete and continue on that journey, and you can see the estimated time we believe will be done there. I think I reported back to you some of the money we received for HVAC. We're replacing some of our rooftop units on top of the Congress Center. Sometimes those require a helicopter to put on top of the Congress Center, so that's what you see in the photo there. You kind of wrap it up and put it all together here and really look at it. The Congress Center, we're big believers in reinvesting in the facilities too. We know we can't reinvest everything we have, but anything that we make extra, we try to reinvest in, and that's what this slide shows you, that since 2002, we've reinvested $174 million within the Congress Center to try to help match some of the funding that we receive from the state. Well, the big question, I think, is FIFA. FIFA World Cup is coming, and I took note of your comments earlier. And so just as a reminder, I think the Sports Council or the Metro Chambers are represented in the room. So we are part of the host committee, along with the ACVB, the Metro Chamber Sports Council, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, City of Atlanta. All of us are part of the host committee that put on these great events. Obviously, the state of Georgia is very involved with these events, too. And we're super excited about having that this year. I think 8 matches, and that's what's going to happen inside the bins. But also, we are going to host a fan festival in Centennial Olympic Park. And so the fan festival, the atmosphere around FIFA, I think John said it was about 37 days, but we are going to extend that on our campus in several locations. So first is Centennial Olympic Park. Right now we're designated for 21 days being open around matches. Now some of them will be our match days that we're open, the day before or day after, and then some of the key matches that you'll see. So in Centennial Olympic Park, you'll have music, food, and you'll also be able to watch matches that are going to happen in and around the tournament as it's here. Additionally, I think what's kind of unique is 30 years to almost the date after we hosted the World Gathering for the Olympic Games, we'll host FIFA World Cup in Centennial Olympic Park again. So it's pretty neat. Big piece there, open to all Georgians, so it's a free event. So we're excited about that, but we're also excited for our visitors that will be coming. So if anybody wants to across the state to come, we'd be happy to host them during the FIFA Fan Fest in Centennial Olympic Park. I think also what was mentioned is we've conceptualized and we're beginning to activate against to lay out, the World Congress Center is a big stage at the end of the day, and we have a lot of space available. And so really working with the Department of Economic Development, Department of Agriculture, DNR, et cetera, we're trying to get a coalition around that we can basically focus and show off Georgia inside the Congress Center during FIFA World Cup. And again, I think that's important for us to do, not only on match day, but then the other days that surround the experience here. Because obviously we want to drive and show everybody that we're the #1 state to do business in at the end of the day. I mentioned to you the big hitter in the middle there, the IPPE show. Certainly excited about them. Sports may be the headline on top, but we have a lot of business on the books for now and into the future. And those are some of the significant trade shows that we host and some of the other sporting events that we host at the World Congress Center. We have exactly one request that the governor we appreciate putting in the amended fiscal year budget, and that is electrical system replacement. Now, electrical system is one of those things when it's not working, but it may not be the thing you see out front. But if the lights aren't working, or you have trouble with the 600,000 square feet of exhibits we have right now in electrical, then it's not working. But really for us, it's about improved reliability, safety, efficiency, and infrastructure. And at the end of the day, your support of our request for $12 million in the amended fiscal year budget is really going to help support and approve, would authorize the commencement of the project for us at the end of the day. It encompassed developing a comprehensive design and really push us off on the procurement of equipment for a phase one approach. You know, we were born in multiple phases, 5 to be exact, so we won't be able to tackle it all with $12 million, but this will certainly get us started and give us a roadmap to get there. Just some of that fun stuff that you don't see behind the walls of equipment that's aging out. We'll also look at transformers, lighting controls, bus duct that support our activities on the exhibit hall, where we wire up all those great shows that come to Georgia and the city of Atlanta, and also look at our emergency power. So last but not least, thank you. We appreciate it. I think with the Metro Chamber in the room, just address that we've also, I think, on page 6 of Department of Economic Development's information, there's funding, one-time funding, non-recurring funding set aside for Super Bowl. I think that's pretty consistent with what you've done for other large events we have, FIFA World Cup, most notable thus far. Obviously, that would be important funds that the host committee and the World Congress Center as a state entity would shepherd through the process if that indeed is something that's going to continue to be funded. It helps cover public safety, infrastructure, and the like. And I'll check with my colleague from the chamber, Nick, and see if there's anything else we want to talk about that. But that's definitely in the budget process. So I'll stop right there and help answer any questions. And last but not least, Mr. Chairman, I forgot to recognize the most important people in the room. That's Lindsay Strickland, our Vice President of Government Affairs, Janet Finlinson, our Chief Financial Officer, and actually I have 2 of my colleagues from Savannah here. Kelvin Moore is our Senior Vice President and General Manager and helps us manage the Savannah Convention Center. And then Al Rojas is our Vice President and Assistant General Manager. So should have done that.
I'm going to help bail you out since you did that. I won't have to do that for you. On the $10 million, can you talk about a little bit more what would that be more security cost, or will it be split?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember we're already in the planning cycle. So we're moving down the planning cycle right now. Obviously, the Super Bowl this year, our hyper focus is on FIFA and execution against that. But 2 years out is really the planning cycle. You send people out to see the Super Bowl. You look at the new nuances of it. You're planning against public safety needs, infrastructure needs, et cetera. What we're going to do, we're going to do something in Centennial Olympic Park, et cetera. And so I think this gives kind of certainty to that approach as we move forward. And the good news is it's just a one-time request.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for all that you're doing to promote Georgia.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And Mr. Kelvin Moore.
Very good, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. And then there was one. My name is Kelvin Moore. I'm the Senior Vice President for the Georgia World Congress Center Authority and General Manager for the Savannah Convention Center. And as Kevin just introduced, I have my colleague with me, Mr. Al Rojas, our Vice President and Assistant General Manager. Let's see here. Boom, there we go. So today I'm going to have the privilege of giving you a lot of the good news that's happening down in Savannah and review one of the items we have in the governor's amended budget. So first, 2025 is the 25th anniversary of the Savannah Convention Center. It's been a very consequential and impactful year for the Convention Center. First, we were able to complete the expansion of the Savannah Convention Center, a $276 million project, of which we are very thankful for the governor and the entire legislature for your support on that. That project allowed us to double the capacity of the convention center from 330,000 square feet to 660,000 square feet. What that does is allow us to raise in ranking as far as square footage, and it improves our competitive positioning with cities like Nashville and Tampa and Austin and Richmond. It allows us to really step up in weight class and generate more economic impact for the city and for the state. We have been rocking and rolling since the day we opened the doors there. We started off with a Nike Savannah Showdown volleyball tournament with 14,000 young girls and their families, and we have not stopped since then. The other big news coming out of Savannah is the development of a new headquarter hotel. It is a Signia by Hilton property, 444 rooms, about a 33-month construction time. That is planned for opening in summer of 2028. What those two projects do for the Savannah Convention Center, for the destination, it really completes the overall package. Again, it improves our competitive positioning with all of our comp set, and most importantly, it allows us to generate more economic impact and more impact for those in the region there. So how's it going, right? The chart on the screen now will show you all of the event activity we have on the books through fiscal 31. And what this shows you is that we have 320 events on the books through fiscal 31. And 215 of those events are utilizing expansion space. What does that mean? That means for not the expanded convention center, we might not have been able to get the majority of those 215 events. So the expansion is paying off. The state's investment in that expansion is paying off. And if you can see the outer years, you have fewer events. The events booked many years in advance. So we expect the impact to be significant. I'm going to report on you right now for our FY25, but our FY26 is even better. So we're feeling very, very good about where we are from a booking pace. By the numbers for fiscal 25, we had 162 events, 400 event days, over 200,000 attendees. The statistics I'm most proud about is a 96.1 customer satisfaction rating, because you can have the best brick and mortars and all of that in a property, but if your people aren't treated well, and if they're not treating our guests well, they won't come back. So we're very proud of that. But impactful, the convention center supports roughly 28,000 jobs in the Savannah region that are related to events and hospitality. And in FY25, the economic impact from convention center events was $183 million for the county and just under $121 million for the state of Georgia. We are here to seek the committee's approval for one item we have on in the governor's amended budget. A couple of things I just want to make sure that I stress is the Savannah Convention Center is a state-owned facility. It is on state-owned land. It is governed by a state-enabled authority and managed by a state-enabled authority. So this is a state project managed for the benefit of the state. Savannah, Georgia Convention Center Authority is self-sustaining, has never come to the state for any operating support. The $276 million for the expansion was a pretty big nickel, so thank you again for that. But we're pretty proud of how we've managed to do things down in Savannah. The next slide will show you what we've done as far as capital self-funding. Over the 25 years of the convention center and into this current fiscal year, there's about $41 million in capital projects that have been funded by the Savannah, Georgia Convention Center Authority through its own funding mechanisms. You will see that the most recent years, that number has increased. Why? Because the existing part of the building is 25 years old, and as you've seen with our friends at the Georgia World Congress Center Authority, when those stairs and escalators and HVAC units get 25 years old, those expenses begin to increase. The project that we have before you today is I believe it's in the tracking sheet, it's on page 10, 50.1.32, and it is a $5 million request in the governor's amended budget for Riverwalk repairs. This project, broadly speaking, it enables to connect the entire campus convention center, including the hotel that's under construction. It improves the walkability and the connectivity, completes the campus, and again, it's all part of that improving our competitive positioning. It is a two-phase project. The first phase, which we are just about complete with, is the reinforcing the bulkhead structural integrity, all of the work underground there. And phase two, which we hope to initiate soon, is to complete the utility infrastructure underground and then come above ground to begin the beautification, pavers and lighting and landscaping, things of that nature. This slide that's up now kind of shows you the area in red where the work has been going on and the area that we hope to complete. The next photo kind of shows you a before when we began that work, which we are well underway. And the next photo kind of gives you a sense of where we were just 2 days ago. So the teams there have been working very, very hard to get that done. That Riverwalk completion, again, it's very important to the overall package, to the Savannah Convention Center, and to the competitiveness of the destination overall. And again, we are seeking your support for the $5 million projects in the governor's amended budget for this project. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that update. Just an economic question, I guess, when you were talking about the number of events that have been booked, 25 and 26, and then 27 that falls off pretty significantly. Of course, there was a nice jump in 26, falls off of 27. Do you anticipate more being booked for 27? You know, not being in the business, how far out in advance are some of these booked?
Yeah, so the way that the sales process works in Savannah, not dissimilar to Atlanta, a smaller scale, we partner with Visit Savannah, our destination marketing organization. They handle all of the event sales 18 months and out. Our sales team handles the event sales 18 months and in. It is not untypical for you to see the out years where the numbers are smaller. As you get into those years and closer to those years, they rise up. I would suggest to you that coming in FY26, we had roughly 60% of where we ended up on the books. A lot of that is our team going out in the year, for the year, hunting and killing the events that we need.
Okay, well, thank you for the great work you all are doing, and thank you for being here today.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that, no questions from members of the committee. We will stand adjourned. Thank you for your attendance today.